Tonight on NAIT NewsWatch.
An increase in dog attacks and what it means for you and your dog's safety.
I would like to see more signage for off-leash areas, personally.
The 2023 construction season wraps up. How will scheduling affect the new Valley Line?
We won't jeopardize quality, and we won't jeopidize safe and reliable service.
Edmonton recognizes the Métis community and their contributions on Métis Week.
The passage of Bill C-53 would be a historic milestone for the Métis people.
NewsWatch starts now.
Good evening and welcome to NAIT NewsWatch. A recent incident involving gang violence has shaken our city.
And it has some people worrying for their safety, as these brazen acts have started to become seemingly more common around Edmonton. We join our Brandon Porneshny live in the NAIT hallways to find out more.
Thanks, Tristan and Jana. Indeed, there has been a spike in gang shootings across our city. And with these attacks being more common in public and during the day, it shows that these groups have little thought for the safety and the lives of family and the public.
It was at this Petro-Canada gas station last week where Harpreet Singh Uppal and his 11-year-old son Gavin were shot and killed by a local gang. Uppal was said to be a high-ranking gang member working in the drug trade, and his son was killed on purpose. Edmonton police and the general public are now showing serious concern as these violent gang attacks become more and more common in the public places during the hours of the day.
We had 158 shootings in 2019, 150 shootings in 2020, 168 shootings in most recently in 2022. 2023, we're approaching 200 shootings.
Back in 2021, Uppal was attacked in an Edmonton pizza restaurant. The attack from last week shows that nothing is off limits. Not even babies and strollers are safe, as seen in this video. Edmontonians are expressing a deep concern with the rising number of shootings.
It is pretty concerning that the gangs feel that there's kind of a safe haven that they can go ahead and whatever they want to call it, take care of business.
Edmonton Police Services Gang Suppression Unit is working hard on the suppression of gang activity around the city, but it is no easy feat. As Sergeant Ryan Ferry told me, the public are the eyes and ears for the police. And if you suspect gang activity in your community, please do not hesitate to reach out.
It's alarming watching some of that footage again, just how little care these gangs have for family. And as a criminologist told me, nothing really seems to be off limits.
So Brandon, do we know the number of active gangs operating in our city?
Well, we don't know the hard number of groups or gangs in our city. We do have a rough number of the amount of individuals who partake in this gang and organized crime lifestyle. That number would be 2,000 to 3,000.
And are there any hotspots for gang activity around the city?
It's hard to say. Gangs are everywhere. The common street gangs are found in underdeveloped and unfunded parts of the city, but we do live in a digital age, so a lot of these gangs operate online, which kind of makes it hard to pinpoint their locations.
Now, what would you say are some of the things people can do to stay safe with the increase of this gang violence?
Well, of course, if you see anything shady, go the other way and alert the authorities. If you know someone who might be in a gang or might be going down that life path, try your best to just sway them away from that. And of course, let EPS know. The public are the eyes and ears for EPS, and they do rely heavily on the public going to them, telling them if something is not right. And back at, if you do know someone who is going down that life path, just try your best to sway them away. It's not a life of glory. It's a life that will put you in danger, and it'll put people around you in danger as well, like what we saw last week.
That was Brennan Porneshny reporting live from the NAIT hallways. Thanks, Brennan.
You're watching NAIT NewsWatch, the next generation of news.
Animal Care and Control Center reminds dog owners responsible pet ownership after a rise in dog attacks in Edmonton. There is an 18% increase of dog attack complaints in 2023 compared to 2022. Complaints jumped from 507 to 596, bringing the increase up to 66% since 2021. The City of Edmonton is renewing its animal control and licensing bylaw after 20 years. Dog owners look forward to the changes this renewal will bring to the community.
I would like to see more signage for off-leash areas personally, as there are a lot of people that go into these off-leash areas who are scared of dogs and end up creating scenes with dogs who aren't aggressive and maybe just friendly and going up to people.
The City of Edmonton encourages pet owners to take part in the public engagement for the new bylaw. The first phase of engagement concluded last November 6, and planning for phase 2 is underway.
Edmonton rent prices have been steadily rising since 2017, hitting an average of $1,300 a month in 2022. College students and young adults are some of those most affected by this, and this trend towards skyrocketing prices has many concerned for their living security.
Just be straight up with the property manager or the landlord and just ask them all of the questions you have.
River Bueller is a drama student at Concordia University who has recently moved into their second apartment. Rent prices increases have put pressure on students having to finance their own housing, and despite the last minimum wage increase in 2018, average Edmonton rent prices have increased over 4% in that time.
I'm definitely worried that if I decide to move, I'll have less options in that decision based on rent prices going up. But I do know that my rent prices here could also increase.
Affordable housing programs in Edmonton are limited, leaving most students finding themselves having to balance studies and the increased workload to make rent. Discounted student rentals can be found through Main Street in Savidia, amongst other renters. For those who are struggling to find roommates, roomies.ca and Facebook can be valuable resources for finding student renters in Edmonton.
Heading into the final weeks of snow-free weather, construction season comes to a close in Edmonton. The city held their year-end review, with the Valley Line being the center of this discussion this past year. Construction of the Ladder Bridge concluded in late October and is just one of over 200 projects the city has completed this year. A budget of $1 billion was allocated to projects consisting of transportation, parks, and neighborhood renewal. Just over 20% of this year's projects saw delays.
And again, with these major transformational projects, there is a risk that there'll be an impact, and how we respond to it, ensure that we deliver what Edmontonians are expecting from a infrastructure perspective is of utmost importance. We won't jeopardize quality, and we won't jeopardize safe and reliable service.
Edmonton will enter the next 4-year cycle with a budget of $8 billion. The completion of the Valley Line West this year was a result of a 3-year delay. They hope to apply these improvements to the Valley Line West with a finish date of 2028.
The City of Edmonton declares this week as Métis Week. The announcement was made on Tuesday together with the Otipemisiwak Métis government. Edmontonians in the Métis community came together at City Hall for this year's Métis Week proclamation. Métis Week runs from November 12th to 18th, with various events spread across the province. President Andrea Saint-Mayer talked about the importance of Bill C-53, a legislation that recognizes the Métis government in Canada.
The passage of Bill C-53 would be a historic milestone for the Métis people. It is a recognition that we have been pursuing for over 2 centuries, one that Louis Riel died for, and it reflects the hard-fought battles and the resilience of our community.
Métis Week is organized every year to correspond to the execution of Métis leader Louis Riel, which happened on November 16th.
Coming up after the break, we take a look at our own YIKES men's basketball team.
And our question of the week this week is about the Oilers' new head coach.
I'm Ben Low in for sports this week. We'll take a look at the Oilers' performance so far this year, and then we'll head over to the NAIT Gymnasium to hang out with the men's basketball team. All that and more coming up on sports.
Hi, I'm Christine Peters from NAIT NewsWatch. This weekend is going to be warm, but it's the last one we get until winter, before winter comes. All that and more in weather coming up after the break. Stay tuned.
Isn't it chilly?
I have noticed that quite a bit. Hopefully your Christine Peters has some good news about the weather.
Thanks, guys. Well, I do have some good news. It's going to be pretty warm this weekend still, but that's all for the warm weather until the spring comes. But then again, we all knew winter was coming. Over to Calgary, high of 10 and a low of 0 for Saturday. And it's going to be nice and sunny. For Sunday, there'll be cloudy, low of 2, high of 7, so still pretty warm. Now over to Jasper, where there's no chance of any rain or snow. High of 7, low of -4 for Saturday. Sunday, there might be a chance of some snow. It's going to be a little colder, low -2, but it's still not going to be that bad. Over to Fort McMurray, 40% chance of some rain, where it's 5 degrees above, and for a high and -2 for the low. And over now here in Edmonton, we're going to see some clouds, but it's not going to get too cold. High of 10, low of -2. So that looks pretty good for our weekend. For our average, we're definitely above them. Normal average high is -1 and average low is -8. So we're way above them. Back in 1917, the record high was 18 degrees. And in 1896, the record low was -34. Well, I'm Christine Peters, and that's your weather.
NewsWatch weather sponsored by NR92, the station for the students.
Tristan, you do know what happened to the Oilers, right?
Yes, Jana, of course. And for this episode's question of the week, we ask you, the NAIT students, about the Oilers' decision.
Hey, I'm Miros with the Nugget. The Oilers have recently fired their head coach after a series of losses. Opinions about this decision have been mixed, so today we'll be asking NAIT students what they think.
I think it could be a good opportunity to turn their season around because they haven't been doing too hot, but I guess we'll find out.
I think the Oilers should have kept Woodcroft, and I think he's a better coach.
I think that it doesn't really matter as long as they make it to the playoffs.
I think it was a bad decision because the season was still early. I know the coach and the players really loved him. And I think, on the other hand, it puts a lot of pressure on the players now to play better and perform better.
I think the Oilers firing their head coach is a important move for the organization entirely. I think what the issue was, after trial and error of all the other applications and missions that they put forth for the team, that this is the best position right now, because if it doesn't come down to the team, it comes down to the head of the team, which is the coach.
Hiring Jay Woodcroft was a bad decision just because he took the Oilers to the playoffs for 2 consecutive seasons. But at the same time, he also made some bad decisions that made the Oilers the team there today, which kind of suck. So yeah.
Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to follow at the NAIT Nugget on TikTok for all your NAIT news, entertainment, and more.
Now, Jana, you're the biggest Oilers fan in Edmonton, right?
I thought you knew me better, but no, not exactly. But you know what I like about them?
What?
Their height, because I wish I had it.
That's fair. The air is nice up here. But our Ben Lowan has some more on the Oilers' future and NAIT's championship performance.
Thanks, guys. The NAIT men's basketball team brought in a star-studded recruiting class for the 2023 season. And these freshmen are having to take on big roles as the team pushes for playoffs. With the ACAC basketball season in full swing, NAIT is working hard for a championship. Last season, the team won 16 games and finished 6th place in the ACAC championships. But with only 4 men returning from last season, the team lost 70% of their scoring and 67% of their rebounding. To help fill key spots, NAIT recruited 8 first-years to the team. Even with the raw talent, the freshmen are still adjusting to the ACAC game.
We got a lot of good shooters on our team. A lot of the young guys just finding their footing in the offense, finding what's a good shot, when's a good shot, and just learning kind of the flow of everything and understanding, especially in the ACAC, guys are bigger, stronger, faster.
This recruiting class is one of the strongest in program history. Players like Cole Wedman, Austin Walter, and Gabriel Humild have won various awards and MVP honors. Humilde is a common name on this team, as Gabriel's older brother Ephraim played last year and was the ACAC Rookie of the Year. Gabriel got some advice from his brother to help make the transition from high school to college basketball smoothly.
So one thing I remember him talking about was taking care of yourself. Would it be like eating good food, making sure you stretch daily, and staying on top of schoolwork?
The Ukes are off to a slower start in conference play with a 3-3 record, but the young squad has put up fights against ACAC powerhouses in RDP and Olds. Though head coach Jordan Baker is impressed with his team, he is still looking for consistent improvements on both sides of the game.
I mean, I think defensively, we've had some struggles the last couple games, matching up with the physicality of our opponents, and also finishing possessions. That means, securing a defensive rebound every time the shot goes up. We've got a couple of physical matchups here to finish the semester, so it'll be a good test for us.
The team has 2 more home games coming up this weekend. On Friday, they'll play St. Mary's, and on Saturday, they will play St., with both games being at 8 p.m. And then the team will finish their semester November 24th and 25th, splitting a weekend with Lakeland College. For End Zone Sports, I'm Ben Lowan. NAIT's small but mighty cross-country trio traveled to Nova Scotia to compete in the CCAA National Championships. They battled against the best and helped put NAIT's name back on the radar. For its first year since 2017, NAIT's cross-country team was back in action. Head coach Ron Barnhart didn't have many expectations coming into the season, but his team fulfilled his hopes and more. First years Hannah Warford and Sean Grunick finished top 15 at the ACAC Championships to qualify for nationals. Both athletes have never been at such a high level before, and Barnhart had some words of wisdom.
I told him not to worry about anything because our goal this year was to get to the championships, and if we got there, anything else was a bonus.
The speech worked as Hannah Warford finished 58th in 26-13 and Sean Grunick finished 61st in 29-01. Overall, it was a successful weekend for the ACAC as State's McKenna Fitzgerald and Concordia's Leonard Chesno took home the gold at nationals. The Edmonton Oilers are off to one of their slowest starts in recent years. With players not producing and wins hard to come by, I hit the streets of Edmonton to get the opinion of fans who bleed blue and orange. One could say that the Edmonton Oilers are on a slippery slope. After finishing last season second in the Pacific Division and making it to the second round in playoffs, hopes were high coming into this season. But with the current record of 5-9-1, fans aren't too happy.
Absolute dog water. Nothing really much to watch.
It's been a little bit of a slow start, but I feel like we've had some changes and switch-ups in the coaching, so I think we're going to end off on a strong note.
Abysmal is a good word for it. Not shocking, but abysmal.
On November 12th, the Oilers hired a new head coach, Chris Klombach. Chris played 5 years with the Golden Bears at the University of Alberta. He was then a head coach for the Erie Otters between 2012 and 2017. After his time with the Otters, he took his talents down to Philadelphia, where he was the assistant coach for the Philadelphia Flyers between 2017 and 2019. The Oilers have hired a head coach that's seen it all.
I think the coaching change is good. I think the players, they have the talent. They just need new direction and a little bit different strategy.
They recently fired Woodcroft, and in my opinion, that's the worst move so far. But I don't know, something needs to change. I don't think that was it.
It's not his fault, but that's how this world works. You can't fire the players, got to fire the coach.
Even with the change, fans are wanting to see more out of their players.
I think a little bit more accountability on the top players is something that is going to have to change a little bit. But just more from our bottom six as well. 0 goals, 0 assists is something that's, you can't win in the NHL if you don't rule 4 lines these days.
While the team has taken longer to heat up this season, fans are still optimistic about their playoff chances.
If you look back at the 2019 St. Louis Blues, they were last place in the whole league, I think, and they came back and they won the Stanley Cup. So, you never know what can happen. Look at Florida last year.
I'm always going to cheer for our boys.
The Oilers travel down to Tampa Bay for the next game. The game will be Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I gotta say, I'm really impressed with the NAIT cross country team. First year back, and they're doing a good job against stiff competition.
I agree with you, Ben, but I really hope our Oilers can pull it together to finish off the season.
I guess we'll see what happens. Thank you, Ben. Halloween isn't quite over yet. And Tristan, if you're a fan of spooky movies, the next story after the break is for you.
And our Try This reporter is thrown into some high-octane airsoft action.
Hi, I'm Elijah Noctigal with NAIT NewsWatch. Coming up on entertainment, we take a look at how an immigrant dream created this mushroom burger haven, and a new Edmonton Film Festival looks to keep horror well alive after Halloween. All this after the break.
NAIT 2023 team jackets are brought to you by Refined RX Medical Aesthetics and Invincible Team Financial Group.
Hey Jenna, have you ever heard of airsoft?
That's a sport where you shoot people with fake guns, right?
Well, sorta. You shoot them with BBs, but it's not as much about shooting people as it is having fun with friends.
Okay.
Our Avery Irvine tries playing airsoft for the first time in this week's Try This segment.
Yeah, I got hit.
Originating in Japan in the early 1980s, airsoft was their version of America's craze at the time, paintball. Though unlike paintball, a bit cheaper and less of a mess.
The biggest difference is projectile size. So a paintball is about yay big, and then an airsoft BB, we've got them lying around. It's that, right? Very small. So it's not only different in projectile size, you've also got replicas that are cheaper. For paintball, getting a replica requires loads of maintenance, and generally they're very expensive. Whereas anything $300 up, you're getting a replica, essentially, in airsoft.
Airsoft facilities like Force on Force hold indoor arenas where players get to participate in many types of game modes. The one I got to play was called Hostage.
He's going to be in prison. One team's goal is to extract the hostage. The other team's goal is to keep the hostage.
Today I'm at Force on Force Tactical Airsoft. Oh, God. Probably being louder than I should. If you've ever wanted to play a video game in real life, well, airsoft is the right sport for you. Bringing the idea of a shooting video game into reality. Oh, God. It's something scary for sure. But also, not only do you break a sweat, oh, I'm hit. But you may make some new friends along the way.
With different game modes, it really brings that video game feeling to life.
A lot of people come to it from video games, so like Call of Duty, that sort of thing. Then for the older crowd, perhaps some of the military veterans, it's a great way for them to use the skills that they've developed in a non-lethal environment.
Averaging between 12 and 35, players of all ages come to play, and for different reasons.
I just wanted to try it out, thought it'd be fun, and it turned out to be really enjoyable, and now it's a really good hobby.
I like the physical aspect of it, and being a kid playing COD a lot, figure I may as well try and do the real life version of COD as much as possible, and I don't know, I just got hooked pretty quick.
I'm Avery Irvine for NAIT NewsWatch.
Tristan, I am so glad Halloween is over. Like, I don't have to be scared anymore.
Absolutely, but I don't know if you can relax quite yet, as our Elijah Noctical brings us some details on a terrifying new film festival.
Jenna, you may want to look away for this next story. Horror fans who didn't get enough to satisfy their bloodthirsty taste for scares last month have some new thrills to rattle their bones. Living up to its name as Festival City, Edmonton added another festival to its roster, this time in the form of a post-Halloween horror film fest.
So we have 17 films for you over the next 2 days.
This new film festival, appropriately called YIKES, is a 2-day celebration of short and feature-length horror, sci-fi, and fantasy films from all over the world. Alongside the films, a wide variety of local vendors, cosplayers, and tarot card readings helped add to the spooky atmosphere.
We framed this as a sort of Halloween hangover. Now it's like, it's been a couple weeks, but people are still feeling that Halloween and scary, spooky energy.
Awards for Best Short, Best Feature, and fan favorite films will be given out at the end of the fest in the form of the Hands of Horror. You can catch the final 8 films at 6 p.m. tonight in the Oliver Exchange Building. With the ski and snowboard season starting throughout the mountains, Edmonton is preparing to see some big air at Commonwealth Stadium for the 2nd annual Style Experience.
The FIS Snowboard Big Air World Cup, more commonly known as the Style Experience, is making its soaring return to Edmonton, bringing in fans both old and new wanting to experience the big air hype and the concerts coming in with it.
This event really puts Edmonton on the global stage in terms of, showing that we're willing to take risks and step outside of the box.
The top big air boarders from across the world will be hitting the jump, fighting their way to the podium. 12 Canadians will be competing this year, some new to the event, and some returning athletes. Truth Smith and Jasmine Baird hit the jump last year. Truth with his first season on the team, and Jasmine taking home gold.
I'm looking forward to doing more big events with new tricks I've been working on over the summer, especially coming into this event. It's a home soil event, so it's always a bit more exciting.
That was my first World Cup win, which meant a lot to me. Definitely something that's been a goal of mine for years, ever since I started competing.
The event is the only of its kind in Canada to have a man-made jump inside of a football stadium, bringing a one-of-a-kind experience to boarders and spectators alike.
You pull up as if you're going to come watch a football game, and all of a sudden there's just a huge 65-foot jump made of metal that goes above the stands, and we get to experience the crowd of a football game cheering us on, and it's it's something that you never really get in snowboarding, so it's a pretty cool experience.
I think it's really good for spectators to be able to sit around the whole jump and, see everything that's going on. And most people haven't seen that sort of thing before.
The scaffolding jump began construction after the Heritage Classic and will continue on into December, with snow being made to cover the wood and metal structure, creating a very different jump for snowboarders to ride on.
You're hitting a 65-foot jump and you're already 60 feet in the air. So it's like double almost. So it's a little scarier than on snow, but the adrenaline rush is definitely more exciting.
Construction of the jump is well underway here at Commonwealth Stadium, and in less than a month it will be completely transformed, covered with snow, and ready to take on some of the best big air boarders from across the world. It's going to be a one-of-a-kind experience that you won't want to miss. For NAIT NewsWatch, I'm Abby Cunningham.
A feature-length documentary about a local burger chain with a cult following and a secret pathway to the immigrant dream is making its Edmonton debut this weekend.
My dad is Burger Baron.
My dad was Burger Baron before your dad was Burger Baron.
The Lebanese Burger Mafia is a film by filmmaker and son of a burger baron, Omar Mawalem, as he road trips across Alberta, discovering the comedic and heartwarming stories of the Lebanese-owned burger chain, as well as the cult following the business has attracted.
Burger Baron was kind of a floundering business. And that the Civil War is what proliferated it, and it's the reason why these institutions still exist today.
The unique Albertan story explores the rise of Burger Baron and the key role the Lebanese Civil War played in its creation. The film will be making its Edmonton premiere tomorrow night at the Metro Cinema. So Jana, I know you were super busy this week and you didn't have a chance to come to Burger Baron with Tristan and I.
Did you guys even ask me? They left me out.
That's in the past, we forget about that. But he did get to try his first ever Burger Baron burger.
Absolutely, and it was great. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, hopefully you guys both get a chance to go check out the movie tomorrow.
We absolutely will have to. Thank you for that experience, Elijah.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. And that's it for this week on NAIT NewsWatch.
Jana, you're an international student, right?
Yeah, why?
Well, that's because today is International Students' Day.
Oh, that's so fun. That's my day then. But you know what else is fun?
What?
Next week's episode on NAIT NewsWatch.
Coming up on November 24th. We'll see you then.